My name is Matt Whyman, and I'm the author of several teen books such as Boy Kills Man and Inside the Cage. I'm also the author of a couple of fluffy pet memoirs called Oink, My Life with Mini Pigs and Walking with Sausage Dogs. So The Savages is a bit of a departure, but I felt the need to get my teeth into something, into a meatier subject. The idea for The Savages came from feeding my children. I look after the kids during the week. My wife works full time, and so I'm in charge of the tea. And early last year, we were just going through a bit of a lean period, as authors can do. And I was looking at the budget thinking, well, I need to cut down somehow. And the logical thing to me seemed to be to cut meat out of our diets. And I thought, if I say that to our kids, there's going to be an issue. So I thought, I'm going to cut the meat out of their diet, and I'm not going to tell them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a decent vegetarian book, and I'm going to make really nice, wholesome, hearty meals for them. And that's exactly what I did for about 3 weeks, and nobody complained, and they were going, oh, this is good, Dad, this is nice. And then eventually one of them piped up saying, why haven't we had sausage and mash for a while? And I thought, well, this would be a good time to tell them. So I explained what I'd done, and from that moment on, they wouldn't touch a vegetarian meal. And it got me thinking about how we can be nice, easygoing, liberal people, in our daily life. But when it comes to food, we're quite hardline. We categorise ourselves in a certain way. We might be meat eaters, we might be vegetarian, pescatarian, just eating fish, or vegan. And so we sit in these food categories. And then I started thinking that could be a metaphor for so many different things. And I thought, well, we've heard lots about vegans. People tend to be quite outspoken when they are more on the extreme side of the food spectrum, if you like. I thought, let's go the other way and look at cannibals. And how would it be if we just take it as a given that this family have a cannibalistic appetite? How does that impact on their daily lives? What is it like? And what would happen if the teenage daughter came home and announced that she was dating a vegetarian? I'm very fond of them all because I had to kind of sit down and work out what character was going to serve what role. And I suppose the obvious answer would be, well, I would identify with Titus, the head of the family. And certainly in terms of the sort of the responsibilities and the drudgery that you have on your shoulders, I would identify with that. But I'm particularly fond of Ivan, the 12-year-old boy who is misunderstood. Yes, they've all been raised as cannibals, so they're bound to be a bit odd. But I was trying to think a little bit deeper than that, to think, well, how would you fit in school, for example, with this secret that you're a cannibal and that you've been raised as a hunter-gatherer in the literal sense? How do you square being a cannibal in your private life with just being an ordinary kid? And so he has all these problems in trying to integrate himself and trying to make friends. And so he feels that making a friend involves tricks that end in harming people, if you like. There's kind of like humour in people being hurt. And so I identify with him because he has to go off and see the school counsellor. And the school counsellor is basically trying to get to the bottom of what makes him tick. And I just remember as a kid, when I was in primary school, there was the school counsellor, and everyone was terrified of being picked out to go to the counsellor because your life would be made in misery and you'd be seen as the oddball. And I just wondered what it would be like to go and see the counsellor in those situations. So when I decided that the savages should be cannibals, it was really important to me that there was a realistic reason why they should be this way. I didn't want to just say, oh, they're cannibals. So I had to come up with a history, and so that involved looking at the history of cannibalism. And the one event that really jumped out at me was the siege of Leningrad during World War II, when the Russians in the city found themselves completely surrounded and cut off for months at a time through very cruel winters. And hundreds of thousands died of starvation. It was an awful, awful time. And there were bodies lying in the street. And there were reports that people had become so desperate that they had turned to cannibalism. And there is a grandfather in this book. And if I aged him correctly, then he would have been a part of that. And so that gave me the springboard, the starting point for this tradition, if you like. It's something that he developed a taste for and well aware that it had to be a hidden taste, and then raised his own family in the cannibal way. And so now we get to the modern family, the modern stage of the savage ascendancy, and here they are living a normal life with mobile phones and jobs. It's just they've got this little special something for the table.